What is up, guys? Gonna be doing another Yap session here. Just kind of some quick thoughts and opinions about just like Land Raiders and Repulsors, and more specifically talking about the Repulsor Executioner from the Black Templars, seeing as that's the faction I have the most experience with, the Repulsor Executioner, and then also my thoughts just on the Land Raider, and then how those two compare, right? Since I've in most of my Space Marine games, either as Ultramarines or Black Templars, and then Chaos Space Marines, I tend to run a Land Raider, or at least one Land Raider, right? As a disclaimer, I am very biased towards the Land Raider. I love the Land Raider. I love how it looks. I think it's an overall pretty solid vehicle, especially with the points cost reduction. Although I still think it could be a little bit cheaper by like another 20 points, but that's just me. But getting into the core of this Yap session, right? Of my thoughts on this, and I will begin off with, I think the Repulsor Executioner for the Black Templars specifically is a very dumb vehicle. I think the amount of guns it has, like the level of shooting it has, is like oppressively stupid. I think that how much firepower one Repulsor Executioner has is a little ridiculous, right? I also just think that, and I use two, right? In my tabletop simulator, Black Templars army, I use two Repulsor Executioners. Those things are kind of mean. They really put the hurt on things, and then that's in my shooting phase, or when I'm overwatching on my opponent's movement phase or charge phase. It's very not cool, and it's kind of boring. I will say, as someone who has had to roll those dice for the shooting, it kind of sucks. It takes a long time. That's even accounting for the hit rerolls thanks to the Repulsor Executioner's ability, right? So long as a friendly unit is within 12 inches of the target you're firing, you can fully reroll the hit rolls. I think that just makes the overall experience of like shooting a Repulsor Executioner kind of boring and long and dumb and unfun for me. Even though I love rolling a lot of dice and taking things off the board. I can look at what one Repulsor Executioner does and kind of be like, yeah, the amount of guns this thing has is a little nuts. And I think that unfortunately, like for Black Templars, there really is no competition like for taking an Executioner over a Land Raider or a Land Raider Crusader or even a Redeemer to an extent. I mean, granted, I'd say it also depends on like what you're transporting. Like in my case, I'm transporting Sword Brothers or Sword Brethren with a Marshal and Castellan. Right, I have two units of 4 Sword Brethren led by Marshal and Castellan. They both have a Repulsor Executioner transporting them, and I just kind of send them up to wherever, and then they have a party, right? They have a good time, and I can accomplish that like transporting those 2 units with one Land Raider, right? Either Redeemer or Crusader, which would be a little redundant thanks to the Castellan, or a Godhammer, like base Land Raider variant. And I don't know. I think with the Executioner, it could do with a points nerf. Like make it more expensive, make it cost as much as like the Land Raiders costed before the last data slate, right? Make them cost 240 points. Yeah, and now when I say that specifically for Black Templars, I'm sure for Space Marines proper and Blood Angels and Dark Angels and Space Wolves, I'm sure the Repulsor Executioner isn't an out-of-line transport or even like tank vehicle. But for Black Templars, it really does feel like it's a vehicle that just it does so much, right? It does a lot of shooting, and a good deal of the profiles you have for like guns are not that bad to shoot into like tough things, like either elite infantry or light armored vehicles, or even like tanks or like Land Raider equivalents. It's kind of nuts, you know. Like really, I could only really see GW increasing the points cost of a repulsor executioner, and they just make it more expensive, make it less attractive in that sense to take. I think most people would probably look at a 240 point costed repulsor executioner and still come away with the perspective of like, well, it's not bad, it's, yeah, it's expensive, but like guns, right? Just more guns. um and like, and to that end, how do I think GW could make the Land Raider more appetizing or attractive to take? And really, I'd say just make it cheaper. I mean, and even then, it's like that only goes so far, because you make it 40 point, like if you make it 200 points instead of 220, okay, cool, it's now 20 points cheaper. Like that gives you more wiggle room to take enhancements to fill out points for a 2,000 point list, or even a 1,000 point list. You could do, you could possibly have more room to take like a different unit. Like maybe you were thinking, oh man, like infiltrators would be a lot better to hold my home field objective, but because of points totals, I can only use intercessors. Well, now you can. That'd be kind of sick. But I don't know. I think the biggest problem with the Land Raider and its variants, even the Redeemer, compared to the Repulsor Executioners, is just it's the Executioner just provides so much. Yeah, it can only transport 7 models, or 7, normal Space Marine bodies, but like what does that matter? It has 10 gun profiles. Let me actually do the count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My mistake. Not 10. 7. 7 shooting profiles. That's a lot of guns, and then that's not even taking into consideration how many attacks each of those guns do. Right? Like that's a lot of shooting. And most of it may not be like super strong, high strength, high AP shooting, but like that's volume. Volume kills. Throwing a lot of dice at something will inevitably cause things to happen, and things to get hurt. um you know I don't know. I think the Land Raider could use some more love. I think that it could be made cheaper. I'm speaking just about the Godhammer variant, the base, the one with the las cannons. If all Land Raiders were made cheaper, that'd be cool. Um, but I think that in comparison to the Executioner, to the Repulsor Executioner, there's just kind of no contest. Even compared to the standard Repulsor, I think there's no contest. I think that the standard Repulsor still beats out the Land Raider because it's cheaper, and compared to the Godhammer variant, it can transport the same number of bodies. The biggest difference is just guns. The Repulsor Executioner can have was it twin las talons and like a las cannon, and that's it. But like compared to the freaking Land Raider, that's still more las cannons technically, right? So I don't know. I think that and then also just like aesthetically, like the whole hover tank thing, I just don't like it. It's not a Space Marine thing. Piss off with that. Just have that be like the Eldar and the AdMech and even the Custodes. Just have that be their thing. Like I want treaded vehicles. Damn it, right? Treaded vehicles are cool. They're based. They're gritty and all that. Like piss off with the whole hover tank stuff. But anyway, I digress with that. So I want to thank you guys all for watching and or listening to my quick little or I say quick, my yap session about the Land Raider and the Repulsors and their variants. No, it's not anything terribly exciting. It wasn't me comparing data sheets or use cases or experiences with them. I apologize for that. It's a yap session. The yap sessions tend to just kind of go be a little unscripted. Just it's my thoughts. It's a rant ramble. I know there are people out there who use both or use one or the other for whatever reasons. I'm not trying to disparage anyone from using whatever they like. I like the Land Raider, but I run Repulsor Executioners because I understand that they're pretty freaking good. They're good. It makes the experience a little boring, and but like if GW were to tomorrow come out and say, hey, Repulsor Executioners for Black Templars are 15 points more expensive, therefore making it where I can't run two of them in my current list, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't really change anything for me. I could just take them out and swap them for Land Raiders. Even if I don't need two Land Raiders to accomplish my transport goals, I could do that. I really don't. I really don't care. But yeah, I'm not trying to disparage anyone or discourage anyone from using whatever they like. If you like Land Raiders, cool. If you like Repulsors, cool. If you like both, if you don't like either, that's cool too. But with that, once again, want to thank you all for listening and watching. Feel free to comment down below what your experiences have been using either a Land Raider and its variants or a Repulsor Executioner. In the case of the Land Raider stuff, that is not just specific to Black Templars or Space Marines. That also includes like World Eaters, Death Guard, Thousands, I think, Custodes. Feel free to say whatever kind of experiences you've had playing with them. And then, of course, if you've dealt with Black Templars or Space Marines with Repulsors and Repulsor Executioners, feel free to give me a little insight as to how that experience went dealing with that. Once again, thank you guys all for watching. Hope you guys have a great time wherever you may find yourself, whether you're at school, at work, or on your way home or chilling. But if things haven't been going well, or things are currently not doing well, I hope they can turn around and get better. But until the next time, guys, I'll see you next time. Peace.